Hi everyone, my name is Alex Howe. I'm the director and founder of Africa Insight Advisors. I'm coming to you from Tanzania today. I wish I could be at the conference. Unfortunately, COVID challenges and travel issues prevented that from happening, but I look forward to being there next year and getting to meet you all. I'm going to talk a little bit about Tanzania, what we're seeing, why we think it's an exciting investment opportunity, exciting investment destination. I've been in Tanzania for the past 9 plus years now, and I started my company AIA in 2015. We're a private sector focused management consulting and transaction advisory firm. We've got a headquarters here in Tanzania and a presence in Kenya as well, although we work throughout the region. We've got two sides of the business. We've got a consulting arm and a transaction arm. The transaction advisory side is helping private sector businesses raise capital, debt, equity, or mezz from investors like you, global investors like you all. We've closed $25 million worth of transactions in the past couple of years. Obviously, COVID delayed a few things. We're working on over $30 million worth of deals right now, and we hope to close more of those in the coming months and carrying into next year as well. We are sector agnostic on the transaction side. We work traditionally on deals sort of $3 to $15 million range, although we're working on a few things larger than that, and occasionally we get some smaller, earlier stage deals as well. Our consulting side has two different arms. We've got a change management arm. That's where we work with local businesses to help them solve a problem of some sort. So that could be helping them launch a new product, be more efficient, formalize their operations, or otherwise improve their business. We also do have a whole market entry side where we help companies cross borders. So that could be helping an American multinational enter East Africa for the first time, helping a Kenyan company come down to Tanzania, or a Tanzanian company look at expanding throughout Africa. Our work there, what we always tell our clients is you can't Google your solutions here. And our work is often focused around giving people the facts and figures they need to make informed market entry decisions. So that means feasibility studies, competitive assessments, market analysis, anything and everything to give a client the clarity that they need to make an investment decision. And if they do decide to invest, all around strategy, support, execution, and building a strong foundation. So that's a little bit what we do. I'm going to talk, as I said, about Tanzania and what we're seeing here. But before I do that, I think I probably need to address the elephant in the room, the negative press that Tanzania has gotten over the past couple of years. And a lot of that is justified. I don't want to, do too much in going over historical issues because we all already know them. But the negative press, like I said, is justified. There was erratic moves by the government, and investor confidence took a hit. There was a feeling that the public sector was a better vehicle of change than the private sector, and that hurt Tanzania as an image and as a country. There were positives, however. There was a much needed cleanup in a lot of areas, and there's been a lot of digitization of things. So when you're working with regulators, filing paperwork and doing things, it's moved online, and that makes things, obviously from a doing business perspective easier, and also cuts down on corruption and chance of error and stuff like that. So there's some positives. Again, I don't want to go into the past. I think the most important thing is where are we currently, and that is we currently have an administration that understands its perception globally and is really focused on changing that. It's all about encouraging FDI and saying, hey, we're open for business, and trying to get investors back in. So we had an investor who was trying to make a $150 million transaction here. That deal had been stymied for several years. It's now been approved, and they're here and they're getting set up. And we're seeing more and more companies come into Tanzania, try to get set up, or at least poking around and seeing what the potential is here. So it doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but we believe the juice is worth the squeeze, so to speak, and that this is an attractive investment destination. Why is it an attractive investment destination? The macro picture tells the story and is what investors are focusing on. So Tanzania has 60 million people, but that's going to increase to 130 million by 2050. Currently, about 60% of those people are engaged in agriculture, but we have an increasingly urbanizing population as well, not just in Dar es Salaam with 6 to 7 million, but we also have a huge urban center in Mwanza and a number of other secondary cities. The country is about 4 times the size of the UK, lots of arable land, huge agricultural sector, which I'll talk a little about later, plenty of rainfall, large bodies of water. Obviously, we're on the Indian Ocean. We have multiple ports. The Dar port is an essential lifeline for Central and East Africa, in particular Congo and Zambia, and their massive mining industry, relies heavily on the Dar port. And Tanzania has, it borders 8 other countries, which makes it just a major player from a logistics point of view. When we're talking about some other hard numbers, GDP growth has consistently been over 5% here, and we're seeing a corresponding increase in incomes. So those 60 million people, they're becoming bigger and bigger consumers, which obviously becomes exciting for a number of different industries. The last thing I'll say on Tanzania as a broad strokes is that it's famously stable. We've got no tribal issues, no violence, and there's no sign of that changing despite some of the hiccups of the past few years. So let's talk some about sectors. The first thing I think people think of when they think of Tanzania is they think of tourism. And the reason for that is clear. It's a major tourism destination. Tourism is about 10% of GDP. We've got the whole safari circuit, and we've got Zanzibar and your beaches and your tropical paradise. So, obviously that has really taken a hit over the past couple of years, but when COVID ends and people start traveling again, we expect that to roar back and be some interesting opportunities there. We do a lot in agriculture, and what makes Tanzania exciting from an agricultural point of view is the size and the scale of everything, and then diversity. We have tons of staple crops, so the vast majority of Tanzanians are involved in growing maize and rice, and that's essential for regional food security. But then we also have a lot of cash crops that are important on the world stage. So cashews, tea, coffee, cotton, and other stuff. We've got very little large-scale agriculture. Most of it is smallholder based, which means that businesses and investors interested need to sort of tailor their approach there. And very concretely, what that means is we see a lot more focus on processing than anything else, although there's some interesting businesses around access to market, aggregation, and logistics. So agriculture, a huge part of the economy, and lots of opportunity there. In energy, everyone knows we've got a huge proven natural gas reserves off our coast. We've got a new Minister of Energy, January Mkamba, and he seems very intent on trying to fast track LNG development here. So I think in the coming months we'll see a lot of discussions and negotiations on host government agreements and some of the other important documentation that we need, and hopefully some development there, which has a lot of potential, developmental potential and downstream business potential. In Kenya and a number of other African countries, we've seen a lot of investment in public-private partnerships to do power development. We haven't seen that in Tanzania. The position of the government has been that the government is capable of developing its own power, but I think there's some signs of that changing, and if that does, then there's a number of interesting power development plays that could happen here in Tanzania. One of my favorite sectors, fast-moving consumer goods. Obviously, Tanzania, we spoke about the population, Dar es Salaam, 7 million people, and increasing incomes make it an exciting space. Traditionally, it's been dominated by large multinationals or large regional players who produce a huge variety of products, dozens or hundreds of SKUs across many different areas. We're seeing more and more niche players pop up to provide a better product, a single product, or a narrow range of products. So there's some interesting things that we see happening there. Beyond that, there's a lot of potential to produce in Tanzania and export to surrounding countries, again, given its logistics positioning. Key thing here is we have a huge informal sector. It's not like Kenya, which is more of a supermarket culture and is more formalized, so business models need to be aware of this and need to adjust accordingly. And there's other interesting businesses that are popping up around servicing that informal market. Mining, not an area we do a lot in, but worth mentioning given Tanzania is a big player in the mining sector. That sector obviously was sort of the start, maybe we could say, of the regulatory instability and the investor issues. We know about Acacia and some of the troubles they've had. The narrative, though, has definitely been changing, and the focus now is making a more welcoming mining environment. I'm not saying all the problems are solved, but recently we've seen OreCorp and Peak Resources have gotten their licenses approved by the cabinet. These are special investment licenses over $100 million, and Kabanga Nickel is progressing as well, and hopefully we'll see them continue quite soon. So there's more needed there, but that sector There's a lot happening there and a lot of potential there as well. Finally, I want to talk a little bit about financial services. We've got 50 banks. We've seen some consolidation over the past few years, and I think we'll see more there. The focus has been on cleaning up NPLs and getting these banks operating better. But when we talk about the variety of businesses and the size of the population, financial services, niche financial services to consumers and to SMEs, there's a lot of potential there as well. This is just a brief summary. There's so much going on in Tanzania. I haven't spoken about the telco sector, mobile money, and the impact that has on the economy and sort of the opportunities that unlocks. And that's really what I'd like to say about Tanzania is Tanzania, it's big and it's exciting because of the scale and because of the variety of opportunities. The government focus now is on being investor friendly. So I encourage you all, please come take a look and see what Tanzania may have to offer you.